No problem whatsoever.
Want me to back up it too, David, or no need?
I should be good.
I mean, I could record it on my end. For some reason, I just have a hard time getting it up on Streamlabs.
No problem whatsoever. The only problem that I have is it's a bit smaller of a screen. Let me see if I can sort of zoom in somehow. I'm sure I can zoom in. Must be able to. There we go. Oh, there I am. Let's take David off the screen. Come on. Be fair, take me off the screen now. Hello everybody, we're in Discord chatting about the ABC strategy. I will zoom in slightly. Hopefully, there we go. So we can see Johnny. Johnny's going to do a presentation about the ABC strategy. So I'll leave it over to you, Johnny.
All right. Wonderful. All right. Good morning, guys. Good afternoon. Well, for me, it's morning. How you guys doing? We're just going to be going over, kind of a quick little update, give you guys just a little quick analysis of what I'm thinking and give you guys some of the setups I'm looking for. And then from there, we'll just go over some quick questions you guys might have, or if you want me to look at something else, I can definitely do that for you. But let's start off with the main analysis for VTC. I might go on to ETH and LTC. Maybe something else on my list that I have here, but primarily I'm just going to stick to BTC for now, and then we'll go from there. The first thing on the list to talk about is what's basically on the bigger time frame. You guys definitely have heard me talk about this before, is going over the idea that this could possibly be a much larger, let me get a better perspective here. This is basically a larger ABC correction coming off of the bull market. Now, within these bigger sets of ABCs, I do like to identify its own set of ABCs within each one of these. And the question at hand right now is this the bottom here? Oh, sorry, wrong. Is this the bottom here off of this structure? Or it's just one leg, we come back up, and now we're looking to test the bottom or put in a lower load to put in that completed ABC structure. That's probably the most important thing right now, is trying to figure out which one of those two options is the main, and see how can we play price action from there. So once we identify the options on a larger scale, what possibly could happen, I like to go down to a smaller time frame. Well, air quotes smaller, because for me, I'm still on the 1 to 2 hour, but I'm pretty much completely zoomed out. I will stretch this out a little bit, but on the horizontal axis, I will absolutely completely zoom out until I can't scroll no more. So based off of what I see here, you can still see the idea of this being a possible A to a B to a C. And then from there, what it brings us down to, what's left, is identifying this section of price action here. All right. And within this section of price action, I do see a very nice setup of this. Stupid Java. Okay. And I do have a setup off of this position here. And it looks like we did come back down to test. Let me change this line to a green. So as long as price is above that 18,450 area around there, I'd definitely be looking to hold longs, or at least be bullish, and possibly look for a bigger upswing to the upside. I'm not sure exactly where this wants to go. When trading this strategy, that isn't necessarily your job to figure out, and as a break green. Your job is to identify the setups, take them as you see them, and then kind of let price action establish itself and figure out where it wants to go. If this is going to be a bottom, from there you can kind of give yourself a little bit of a better idea of what could happen. For example, we talked about this being an ABC. This could be a one larger A to a B to a C to continue up. Anywhere from at the minimum past that high to completely much larger structure, or ideally, the first stop I want to see tested is probably this area of liquidity up here. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end and that's it. We're going to tumble back down because of this giant setup. No. I will absolutely be taking shorts up here just in case that is a situation and we can get something very similar to what happened back here. You know, stretching from January to April. That's a lot of price action. So definitely a situation like that could arise in the future as the price does develop. I'm not too sure yet. I kind of have to see where it goes, but I'm playing it as I see it. So if that fails, the last line is well, I wouldn't say defense, but the last level I'm looking for before I pretty much can't take any other setups is this much larger pivot here at about 17,600. And for me, that's going to be a completed setup that, like we talked about in the beginning, of this much, much larger ABC here. And that would complete the overall. I would say this is a definitely, if price does get back below 17,600 and able to basically come right back up and hold support above that region, I would definitely call for that being a much larger reversal in the market. Now, it doesn't mean it has to, it doesn't mean it will. For me, that's definitely a pivot that matters a lot to me. So I'm definitely willing to put a lot of my eggs on that idea, or the eggs in that basket based on that idea itself. So I'm very confident that if this doesn't hold, that's the next level. If it can get back below and come back above and sustain, I'm going to be definitely, buying in long. We're going to be definitely sprinkling in on my more macro longer term account. Probably try to take some swing trades on that as well. And I'm just going to hold it and see what happens from there, because that can definitely be the bottom. And I definitely want to ride the momentum, the wave up, if that is the case. So that's pretty much it for BTC. Let's go over ETH quick. So ETH pretty much has a similar situation, just slightly different, as you can see here. To me, I always talk about this. I don't like this as a, how do I say this? As a main idea, but sometimes I actually did not put that high. But for me, this looks like an ABC with the B wave having an ABC flat. Now, 95 to 98% of the time, that does not happen. But it does happen, and it is a variation, and it is a possibility, and I do definitely consider that when looking at structures long term. I don't sit there and try to take trades off of flats, but I definitely can acknowledge that they exist, and I definitely will acknowledge that that is possibilities based off of how price has been building. So once I establish that this is my ABC, within the C, I could sit here and establish a short setup, which to me, you could have done that. It probably wouldn't have worked out. But as price further develops, you can establish that this is an ABC. And then as price continues, we definitely did see an A to a B and then continuation to a C. This is something I did talk about in the past as price was kind of in this region here. And the setup that I took, that I shorted, was based off of this ABC. Oh, come on. Based off of this ABC. And the only reason why I took this is because, to me, this was an ABC within the B. And I was looking for at least a test of that 1420 and possibly lower. And we did get that. So to me, this is a much larger completed setup. If price can get back above that 1421, is that 1421? 1420 level, I definitely going to be bullish on a bigger scale on ETH, just for at least, like I said, it's very similar to BTC. ETH is a little bit different on a larger time frame, because I don't necessarily see, like, you do have this area here of like liquidity, definitely some support in this region. I probably would be expecting a test somewhere, and that's going to be a larger A to a B to a C. So that's pretty much it. Let's go over the positions that I'm currently looking to take. Besides, I mean, I do have that 1420 entry that I was telling you guys about, but I did miss out on this. Unfortunately, I was in a long off of this setup, and I took a half position on this just because I know sometimes when we put in these lower lows to complete the C, sometimes it's not the cleanest setup. Ideally, if I could see it sustain above here, if not, I'm going to probably stick to the main entry at 1421 until something like this could also happen. And that's going to be a much larger, cleaner structure, definitely an ABC to complete the C. And same thing as what I just mentioned before, that 1271 entry. I'm going to be taking that if it does happen, but I'm only going to be taking a half position just because I want to play into the C leg and get a decent entry. But to me, I don't necessarily want to put in a full amount until we get a confirmed break and confirmed structure completion once I see price get back above that 1421 region. So that is pretty much it for ETH. Let's see. I mean, LTC, nothing going on really. I did talk about a larger ABC setup based off of this setup here, and I was targeting this area as like a good area of support, which we did get. If you guys managed to take that short, let me just color code it. Congratulations. I personally did not take this because by the time everything was happening, I was focusing mainly on BTC and ETH. Well, actually ETH at the moment. And that's about it. I'm maybe if you guys want me to look over certain coins on this, but those are pretty much the main ideas I have and what's mostly what I look for. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I was watching Kite on his stream the other day, and he had an interesting thing about adding to his position as we were going up and taking extra entries inside of an entry.
All right.
Very good explained.
Thank you, Vlad. I appreciate it.
I forgot to put my mic on again. I was talking away again.
No worries.
I was watching Kite on his stream yesterday or the day before, I think it was. You were there as well. Kite was talking about adding to his position as new entries. And the new entries came to hand. Sort of, if he was already in a long, he would sort of take profit on a small, take profit on the original entry, and then add to it on new ABC setups as a new part of his strategy.
I could definitely go over that.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was something that you were planning on doing, or if you knew what he was talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So basically, when Kite talks about that, he primarily looks for another reason to basically ride the wave. So the main reason why you would want to do something like that is because, let's say, for example, like let's say you have a long off of here, and let's say this is a hypothetical bottom. All right, so let's say you never got. Let's say you sustained an entry, and next thing you know, you ride this thing all the way up to, I don't know where the heck the bull market's going to end, but let's just say like 120K. That's a very nice risk to reward ratio. All right, so that's a 581. And let's say, I'm trying to think of like a typical like account size. Let's say you have like $1,000, so you're risking about 1%. So 10 times 580 point, what was it? Or 581.7. All right, so you would make $5,000 off of a $10 position. Congratulations, that's a grand slam. So the alternative to that, and what you can do to kind of compound, and that's his main goal when he does these kind of positions, or when he's looking for overall market change or market structure change, is that he wants to basically ride the wave, add to his position, because overall that's going to give you a much better how do I say this? It's going to give you a much higher win rate, or not win rate, a much higher payout at the end. So the only time he really was going to consider doing that is if, let's say, price bottoms from here. Let's say price continues to pump. What he's going to do if that situation does arise is, let's say prices continues. All right. And eventually you're going to get some sort of pullback and then some continuation on a larger scale. It really depends on the size. I can't give you like exacts, so I'm just giving you hypotheticals. And to me, this is a good size in comparison to what's going on. If the B wave has a nice ABC setup within that B, and it gives you a good opportunity to take another position, he'll go ahead and he would take profit on here and re-enter here. Because ideally, it's the same sort of setup. It's the same sort of, it's almost comparable in size, but you're trying to bank on the continuation of the trend. And if this is going to be a much larger bull market, to me, that is a very good spot to enter, because you're basically still riding the same momentum, as well as you're going to be able to compound the gains you made from this trade and add it onto here. So if you do, you will actually end up making more money doing it this way if you do it correctly. And another reason why he also would do that as well is, let's say, same scenario, all right, ABC to a flat and to a C to an extend up, I don't know where that's going to go. But what if we're also looking at something like this? What if there's an ABC here? And I'll change that to like a red color so you guys can identify. Oh, come on. All right, so what if, I'll change this to a green. What if price didn't necessarily form that B wave? All right, and what if you just got a continuation down here? And let's say it is a much larger continuation of the bear market. I'm just giving, I know it's not ideal, or probably what won't happen, but I'm just giving you guys like a hypothetical case scenario. If price does something like this, to where the bigger structure basically overpowers a smaller one, and let's say this doesn't end up happening and it continues to fall, what it'll do is, if this position fails and continues, it'll allow you to lock in profit from down here without you risking, or without you losing that extra profit you would have made off of this position, but also allows you to place a security saying, okay, you know what, this didn't play out, this position failed, we're going down lower, that's fine with me. It's not, you're not, I wouldn't say stuck, but you're not in a position to where you basically just watch all your profits go away. Now, I will only do something like this if I think I'm playing into a larger bull run, or even still on the vice versa. If I'm like, let's say for this case scenario here, very good example. I love referring to this part of price action, but you had this much larger A to a B to a C. All right, and you have basically a short entry here. It's the same sort of situation. Now you can just let this ride. And now what you can do is, if you ever find a situation to where in this part of price action, you have a separate ABC that helps basically continue the idea that this is going to be a continuation downwards more, you can also take another short off of this ABC here. So let me mark that out for you. I'll mark it in the similar lines here. All right, so you guys can actually go ahead and take a short off of that setup, and while also taking profit on this setup. So what this allows you to do is you allow yourself to compound the gains you made from the short of this setup, as well as basically give you some sense of security, just in case if this failed, it was going to be an overall, I wouldn't say market change, but it definitely shows that the market's strong and it wants to hold this level, and if it continued to rally, and you probably would have at least gotten pretty close, if not stopped out of your entry. That I'm just giving you guys hypotheticals. I'm not sure if that would have happened or not, but just based off of that idea alone, it gives you the extra sense of security that, okay, you know what, I took a good position, it didn't play out, we'll move on to the next one. I also secured my profit, and if it does continue to play out, I'm going to benefit even more from riding this wave down instead of just holding the short from up here. So that's probably the best way to explain how he adds to his position. You know, you're not just sitting there just sprinkling on to a certain position just because you think the market's going down. You have a much larger structure with a continuation, and also the market's showing you another opportunity to short as well. So that's probably the best way to explain compounding. And I definitely plan on doing that as well. I just have to wait and see what the market shows me, what it wants to give me. Hopefully that answers that question. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, because he said that the last bull run was something that he didn't do enough, and I found it interesting, that concept that he came up with. Well, the concept, obviously, it's a concept that's well known, but obviously the concept and the way that he was going to do it, so it seems quite interesting.
Yeah, Trader Tom. Sorry.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I went blank. Sorry, it was my fault. I didn't hear it. Carry on. Trader
No
Tom.
worries. Trader Tom basically talks about that idea of adding to winning positions. He does it a little bit differently because he trades like indices, S&P. Like he uses futures. I believe he's a futures trader. Yeah. So the way he compounds his entries are a little bit different. But it's the same idea, but you're doing it in a more methodical, more strategic way. You're not just adding to your position just because the momentum's moving up. You're actually waiting for another setup to form so you can go ahead and compound to that as well. So that was the last thing I just wanted to say.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
All
Does
right.
Anybody have any questions?
Anybody? Yep.
Maybe we should also check if possible the SP 500 because I think I see an ABC.
Oh yeah. You know, I actually mentioned this over. I think it was like last week, the end of last week. I'll do the S&P, Dow Jones. I think the ES is the same thing. It's just a little bit of a. I think it's with mini futures. So last week we were kind of hovering in this area, and to me, we were so far down here. I was looking for a lower low, and Vlad is correct. There is a ginormous ABC. Now, does this mean that this is going to be the end of the bear market? I don't know. I really can't sit here and say. But what I can say is that this is definitely a good opportunity for the market to reverse. For a couple different reasons. One, it did a very good job at putting that lower low and then sustaining back above it. Now we're kind of hovering in that region now, but if the S&P can rally from here, this to me looks like a beautiful completed bottom. This is almost a textbook definition. An ideal textbook definition for me would have been to see possibly another, like a pump to another rally down. This would be a textbook, like beautiful sequence of ABCs to complete one giant structure. In my opinion, it doesn't have to happen. As long as we establish that pivot and we see that if price can hold above here, definitely a good reason to be bullish on markets in general. I really like this. And one of the things that I noticed, as well as the S&P and everything else was falling in this region, BTC was doing a really good job at just holding itself in this area. Definitely just continue to range within this tight area of consolidation here. So for me, the fact that I was able to sustain that definitely shows that there's some sort of strength here. I don't know if that's going to hold. Everything can easily just continue to fall. But as of right now, that's definitely, oh God, that's the wrong color. As of right now, that is definitely a good sign to be bullish. I would say from a support, basically the next level of support I'm looking for the S&P to test is somewhere in this area. There's definitely good price action going on here. And also that's the peak of the market before the COVID crash. So for me, if this level doesn't hold, I'm going to be looking for some sort of continuation downwards, and I want to see some sort of like ABC within there. And if I can get that, ABC to complete this larger ABC. Look at this as a possible market reversal. Nothing set in stone. I'm just gonna go based off of what price tells me, and if it fails, it fails. We'll figure it out on the next set of setups. Let's see. It's a base. I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it's almost the same thing. So, I really don't have much going on for. Yeah, the DXY is the DXY. It's continuing to pump. So let's see what happens. Let's see. I mean, if I think I talked about this before. Honestly, the next step for the DXY is probably going to be that 120 region. If that is the case, this is, I mean, I remember this. Yeah, this was from back in like early 2000s. Jeez. If I can get a bigger. Okay, even still, the larger ABC structure isn't until 165. I honestly don't think it's going to get up there. I'm just going to delete that because that's not part of an ABC structure, but this is the ABC I see on the DXY. Well, actually, technically, it would be something like this. Yeah, that's better. And then its own ABC within the C. So if the DXY can get back below 103, that's definitely going to be bullish for markets in general. But if it continues to pump, from a local high perspective, this is going to be a good area of resistance. I'm not going to call for this being definitely a reversal for the DXY, but I have to keep in mind this area. If it puts in a setup within that box zone a little bit different, I'll retract that statement and say, hey, you know what? We do have a possible ABC within a C. No, let me zoom in to get a better. You know, if you get something like that, that would be nice. To me, that's a much more completed setup, and I'd be willing to. Obviously, I don't think you can make actual positions off of the DXY, but I'd be a little bit more bearish on the DXY, and I'll be looking for everything else to start pumping again. If that is the case, doesn't necessarily have to, but that's about it. Oh, I was like, why is this so tiny? All right. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think of it that I missed anything. What did we go over last time? Oh, maybe I'll check on gold. Let's see if anything has changed. I know gold likes to take its sweet time sometimes. Let's see. Okay, pretty much everything still stands. I believe there was a massive one on a weekly. Yeah. To me, this is the more important structure. It could obviously get back above here as well. I'm not counting on it. But you do have a completed ABC at the downside. Oh, that was a terrible B. And then you could have this be some sort of continuation like that. I don't know. I have to see what happens, how it develops. But for me, as of when I see this, come on. This green line is pretty much the pivot of the larger A. Going back all the way, was this 2011? So for me, yeah, that is a much larger setup. So basically, from here, you kind of have to look at where's the area of support. To me, of this area of the local low here, I would say the next stop after that is definitely around here. So if it continues to fall, gold, you're probably looking at 1,090, somewhere around there in this box region. Next is that 711 level. And from there, I don't see anything else significant support wise until the 257 region. I don't personally believe it's going to get down there. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I've been wrong before. We'll see what happens. I believe that's everything.
Just see if
All
there's any
right.
questions in the chat. Seems like everybody's good. Thanks, Johnny. That was a great stream. And thank you for explaining
I appreciate it.
how to add to the position. That's something that I'm going to try and put into the indicator this week as well to try and get that as part of the strategy. So, yeah.
So let's see what happens. I forgot there's something else that I wanted to say. Was there? You guys got to forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm like still waking up.
It's early there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about it's 7:45 a.m.
Yeah.
For me, that's early. I'm usually I'm still not up yet in my normal time.
Yeah, get 2 kids in your life and that's late.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm okay for now.
Yeah. I think, yeah, so thank you very much again. I think that Vlad's got his stream tomorrow, going through beginners TA, I believe, Vlad, is that correct?
Depends if you're going to move your live stream tomorrow.
Mine's tomorrow evening, and I know that you're killing it with your TA at the moment. You're doing a fantastic job as well. Straight on exactly where you predicted it, so well done. Thank you.
We'll see
John.
if there is some action, and maybe I can also do a live stream.
Okay, mate. No problem. Not sure if anybody's got any questions for you. Could he? Thank you very much. Oh, we can just about hear you. I'll try and turn up the volume slightly. There you go.
Can you guys check ETH?
Can we check ETH?
Yeah. So pretty much for ETH, there really is no, how to say this. The setups I'm looking for particularly are going to be, the main entry is going to be at that 1421. If ETH can get back above there, you do have this completed ABC setup here, and that to me it definitely calls for a much larger completed correction. That's my main focus. If you're going to take a smaller entry, most of the time, if you're going to play off of basically, because this is playing into the C wave. So how I like to explain this is that sometimes you have your own ABC within a C, right? And this is going to be a much larger setup here. Your primary focus is still above this macro A at 1421. If you wanted to play a small entry, you can try to play that 1275 area. I would say take a half position or a quarter position, depending on how your risk tolerance is. I would not be taking a full position off of this because you can get to a situation where this can get pretty choppy. You find yourself getting stopped out a good amount. Like as of right now, I got stopped out in the middle of the night. I'm waiting to get back in. If that fails, ultimately, I think you have one more decent setup to take. Even still, off of this ABC here, even still, if that's the case, off of that 1218 level, I would still only take a half position. maybe if I was playing 25% of a position up here, I might move it down up to 50, just because there's a little bit of a bigger gap in between these two entries. That's just me personally, though. So I ideally focus on that 1421. If you want to play smaller, play that 1276, 77 region, and if that fails, look for 1214. And if that fails, there's really no other position for me to take. I don't see any shorts on ETH. Primarily, I'm just looking for longs right now. I see a question in chat. Let's see. Do you consider VRVP? I do not. And also, how would you play out a trailing take profit? So I personally don't take. I don't use trailing stops or trailing take profits, just because where I'm taking my entries are mostly based off of major pivots. So for me, if price is going to sustain, if in this case if it's going to sustain above a macro pivot, which is that A at 1421, I have really no reason to try to take profit too early or use any sort of trailing take profit or stop loss, because you can easily get into a situation to where price can continue and just kind of pull back within above, somewhere above here. So let's say price continues to go up, and let's say, depending on how deep this goes, you can set a trailing take profit above here, and you can easily have it come down and get stopped out in profit as well. But then you're missing out on the continuation of this trend. If a situation does arise, like I mentioned before, where you get a good setup on a pullback to be able to play into that continuation, that's when I would consider taking profit early. But besides that, I really don't. I'm not a big fan of trailing stop losses, trailing take profits, because for me and my style, I'm looking to play bigger swings, and sometimes you do more harm than good cutting yourself off too early. That's just my opinion.
Awesome. Are there any other questions for the ABC wizard Johnny? Well, it was well explained. I kind of expected that. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, Vlad.
No problem. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are going to have our next live stream tomorrow regarding the DaviddTech stuff with David also. Thank you again. See you later at the next live stream. If you
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you
I'll
tomorrow.
be back here tomorrow as well.
Thank you very much, Johnny. It was brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. Johnny has a YouTube channel as well that you can check out, which is Johnny Crypto. This is recorded also on the DaviddTech channel.
Cheers, Johnny.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Guys.
Thanks,
Thank you guys.
everybody.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.